At present, we're joined in by Dr. Mohan Kumar. He's former Indian ambassador. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on DD India News Hour. To begin with, I would want you to, begin decoding for us. How do you analyze and how do you read this turn of statement or damage control diplomacy put forth by President Trump?
Thank you very much for having me. I think it demonstrates three or four things. One, we've always described the occupant of the White House as unpredictable and mercurial. I suppose this is par for the course if you understand the man himself. Secondly, I also believe that India did a good thing by standing firm, but also not getting into, to use the Hindi expression for which I'm struggling to find an English equivalent, tu tu main. If we had gotten into that and started abusing each other, I thought India acted with restraint. And despite a lot of his colleagues, not President Trump himself, and to be fair to President Trump, he never said anything against Prime Minister Modi or whatever, but a lot of his colleagues did use language that could have been considered intemperate by diplomats. But I thought we did well by not retaliating. That's verbally, I'm saying. And I think that's a very, very good thing. And the third thing is the Prime Minister, true to form, has picked his moment to reach out. You know, this was a tweet by President Trump, which was very balanced and which did not put India in a bad light. He said, I have a great relationship and a friendship with Prime Minister Modi. This was the perfect opening, I thought, that India was looking for. And the Prime Minister has grabbed it with both hands. To the strategic community, I would have to say, on both sides, that is US and India, this will come as a huge sense of relief, because not because we want one side or the other to back down. That's not the point. The real point is there is too much at stake. Those of us who understand the US-India relationship know that this has every potential to be the most consequential partnership in the 21st century. And to see all of this go down the tube in the last few weeks was extremely painful for both sides, where a lot of people had worked so hard to build this relationship brick by brick. So all in all, I hope this is the end, because I'm hoping that there is no other volte-face and surprise in store. This gives a perfect opportunity now for both sides to have their main interlocutors hunker down, sit down, prepare the ground for a meeting between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi as early as possible when circumstances allow that. But I think the work must begin right now. And we should, I think, request either side not to do public diplomacy. If there is one lesson, it is this. You cannot do diplomacy publicly by calling each other names and so on. Diplomacy is best done quietly, behind the scenes, between trusted interlocutors. So I'll stop here.
Right. All right, sir, you're talking of closed door diplomacy, but at the same time, how do we see this, carry forward in the near future, in the sense that US has criticized India for buying oil from Russia. At the same time, we have tariffs, steeping tariffs by US to, on India to the tune of 50%. Would you say that this softening of stance by President Trump could somewhere reflect on the relationship ahead when you suggest the interlocutors to sit and talk? Can we expect some kind of softening with regards to trade talks, or with regards to, India-Russia, or for that matter, other issues that have been the bone of contention between the two countries in the, just recently?
I certainly think this will lead to an unblocking of the relationship which we find in an impasse now. But to pretend that in the future there will be no issues at all between the two countries would be naive. Sequentially, and I'm trying to answer your question, sequentially, I hope we will do the following. this was never about trade. This was about a lot of other factors, and I will get into it if in a minute if you give me the opportunity.
Yes.
First, trade. I think we have put forward on the table an excellent offer. And this I've heard even from American interlocutors. We have put forward an excellent deal. The deal was almost concluded when other factors, extraneous factors, overtook events. So I think we will have to now go back to the drawing board, seal the trade agreement first, and say, okay, we will have a bilateral trade agreement by November. We have agreed in the interim to the following. So that's the first thing they will have to do. On purchase of Russian oil, my sense is that if we can project to the American side that we will make more purchases of energy from the United States, I think that should be a factor that will at least unblock the situation. To expect India to buy zero oil from Russia may not be fair, and in fact will be counterproductive because the oil prices will then shoot up. And that is not something even the US wants. And that is not something even President Trump will want given the midterm elections, given the impending midterm elections. So, what we will have to do on the Russian oil is give reasonable assurances to the US side that, listen, we will do our best to buy from other sources because we are committed to the energy security of 1.4 billion people. So that is the other thing that you will have to do. Last, I think we will have to at least privately, we could have a conversation on Pakistan mediation and the rest of it. I don't want to speak publicly, but you'll have to allow diplomats to do their job. There are various ways in which we could convey to the Americans privately that, listen, this is a sensitive relationship. We have never favored external mediation. We cannot change now, but there are some things that we can do. So I think these are the three tracks in which interlocutors have to start working. To recapitulate, the trade deal, second, the purchases of energy, and third, I would say our relationship with Pakistan. Finally, I would also say that India will have to present a strong case to President Trump and United States that the trade deficit is only one part of the story, that in services we buy a lot of things from the US. There's a lot of purchase of defense items. Indian students go and study in the US, although I realize that has dropped for a variety of reasons. We also can persuade them and tell them that, listen, we're buying a lot of Boeing aircraft from them. So there will have to be a full holistic presentation of the relationship to President Trump and his colleagues so that they don't think that focusing on just one aspect of the relationship, which is, the trade deficit, that would be misleading. Having said that, I would also have to give credit to the American side because despite the kind of problems that we have had, real talks and real exchanges never stopped. You will recall that we still had the Yuddha Abhyas, which is the joint military exercise which took place 3 days ago.
Yes.
About 10 days ago, we had the 2+2 dialogue virtually at the level of additional secretary. We've had intelligence cooperation recently between the US and India. So despite the trouble in the relationship, a lot of tracks have actually continued. Conversation has continued, work has continued. So it shouldn't be too difficult to take the relationship back to status quo ante. As I said, the main task now is to prepare the ground for a one-on-one meeting between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi at the earliest opportunity.
All right, so we'll leave it here on this optimistic note. We'll end this conversation. Thank you so much for joining in with those inputs and that analysis.
Thank you for having me.
Thank